Hey guys, please ignore the mess here in the living room, but we're reorganizing because we're getting rid of big giant projection screen in the background and just put up a new 55-inch LCD there, which I hope I don't drop this wood, because if I do, it's at a very bad position to fall into this brand new TV, but let's just hope I'm not that clumsy. But anyway, wanted to show you guys, this was the piece of wood here on the right that I was going to cut the control panel out of, and I've changed my mind. It's just tried to get the straightest piece possible. This was a 4x4 sheet, and I've cut a little bit off of it up there, you can see, just to help make a piece of the control panel. But there's a lot of it left, but no matter which way I turn it, there's bowing. See if I can kind of show you there. I don't know if it really shows on camera that much, but this piece bows. It looks like, the way you're looking at it right now, it looks like it's maybe frowning. And if you go up on top of it and look, it's really, let me back up here. It's really about the same way. It's got a bow to it either way you turn it, and I want my control panel to be as flat as possible so it'll sit on the control panel box without, you know, rocking around. I don't want it like bowing upwards or bowing downwards, you know. I don't want it smiling or frowning. Well, this piece here was what you see me cut in an earlier video for the front of the main cabinet. It was going to be the front piece. It's almost exactly 2 foot wide, and it was going to replace a smaller piece that was on there because I needed to go from the bottom of the cabinet all the way up to the bottom of the control panel, and that other piece was too small because of the way the other control panel, when it was a bowling cabinet, kind of hinged in the middle. But this piece has already been cut. It's about 2 foot wide, and it's still about 4 foot long. Whoops, about to drop some of this wood. But it's about if I bust that new TV, my wife's going to kill me, and I'm going to kill me, and then I want to throw up. But anyway, it's about 4 foot long still, but I need to chop off maybe a foot or so of it, probably a couple feet to use on the main cab. But it's just so much flatter and so much truer a piece of plywood that I really think I'm going to cut the control panel out of this one, because it doesn't have a bit of a smile to it at all, hardly. You know, it doesn't bow anything like this larger sheet. And this larger sheet, I mean, I really picked the best I could. I went through every bit of wood there, and you know, every bit of it seems to have a bow to it. But you know, that's the disadvantage of going with plywood. It's gonna have some warpage and stuff like that, or any other kind of wood that you use if you don't use something that's, you know, like MDF, you know. So I actually have a smaller piece of MDF that might be big enough for the control panel upstairs, but it's greater thickness than what I want to use, and I don't think I'm gonna use that. I think I'll just stick with this piece of plywood, and what I'll do is I'll come back and cut what I need for the front of the main cabinet off of this, because it doesn't matter if it bows just slightly, because the way I'm going to nail or screw it in, it will probably pull it more true. As long as the nailers, the strips of wood that I put into the main cabinet to nail into, as long as they're strong enough and beefy enough, I should be able to run some screws probably in there, and it will pull this bow out of this and make it more true. But on the control panel, there's nothing you can do really, because it's just a loose piece that sits on top of the control panel box, and it's hooked on with a hinge, and it's attached to nothing to true it up really. You know, if it's not true, it's gonna stay bowed or warped, and you know, it's going to be something that you look at constantly. And the piece in the front, you know, if there's any bit of bowing or warpage or anything to it, you know, you're not even going to pay no attention. It's going to be at knee level and down at your feet, you know, most of the time. And once I cover it with a little artwork or something like that, it'll probably make it completely unnoticeable if there is any type of bow at all. But anyway, that's what we're going to do right now. Going to take this and lay the control panel box on top of it upside down, cut us a little bit of an outline, and leave maybe a ½ an inch on the sides and an inch at the front, and we're going to cut us out a piece to, you know, start fabricating the very top of the control panel, because I need to get to work on that. I don't have any holes cut out in anything for joysticks, buttons, or anything, so really got to get boogieing on that, and maybe I can get my control panel overlay before long and finish that up. I don't know if I'm going to go ahead and drill the holes first and then order a control panel overlay and match up the holes, or if I'm going to order the overlay first and then drill the holes, because some of those overlays, they have like a center position that looks like it's made perfectly to put a trackball or something. There'll be like a graphic or something in the middle. It looks like if you would center a trackball on it, it would just look great. And if I go ahead and cut it now and then order the overlay, unless it has a lot of overlap to it, I won't be able to center that up perfectly where the hole for the trackball is. So anyway, that's what we're going to do now. I might show you cutting some of this wood outside. Okay guys, what I decided to do is take that panel I told you about, and first cut I'm going to make is the cut that's going to go up against like where your monitor is and everything. And this is a factory edge right here, and this factory edge is going to be what is getting T-molding applied to it. It'd be like what's against your waist. So that long piece there is going to be like what's against your waist there, and it's a good straight cut. And I've took my my framing square and put up against this, and I've got a good square corner here. Now over here on this other side, this is actually an edge I cut, and it's not perfectly square, so I want to cut this away. And there's also, let's see, right down there there's a crack. We're going to try to cut that away. So we're going to come from like that edge there, we're going to come across 12 inches is about how far we need to go. We're going to give it an extra maybe inch and an eighth, because I think that control panel box is actually like 12 and an eighth. So we want to give it about 1 inch overhang in the front. So we're going to come up about 13 and an eighth and rip this straight up through here on the table saw. And when we do that, I want to have the blade set on an angle, so it's going to create a bevel cut. And reason being, first thing I'm going to do is take this little block of wood, which is about the same thickness, it's just some pine. It's about the same thickness as this plywood, and I want to practice my bevel cut on there until I get the exact bevel that I need, because over here on the main cab I didn't cut a notch out for my control panel to recess in. Instead of coming back and cutting that notch, I'm just going to make it meet straight up against there. It's going to accept the bevel of that. Even though it's coming up from an angle itself, it's going to accept the bevel of that. The only problem we're going to run into with that is right here, it'll look like it's beveled up. We're going to have to come back later with a small saw and just cut that flat so that T-molding can wrap all the way around. Okay guys, it may not make sense to you right now, but if you imagine this being a piece of wood that's on top of the control panel and coming up, this small speed square here, like the edge of it would be like perfectly 90 degrees, and down the side of it there it's got markings for different angles, and I've kind of lined it up. My hand's not going to hold it very long, but I'm trying to hold it there so you can kind of see if I can get in close enough. Kind of see the edge of the cabinet there. The long mark dead in the center of 60 and 70 degrees is 65. You come down about 2 notches and it'd be like 64 and 63. It looks like 63 degrees is about the angle we're looking for. So that's where I'm going to start off with my table saw and see how that looks. And I'll like go down or up a little bit until I get the bevel that looks great with this little piece of test wood here, and then that's what we'll leave it set at when we actually cut the control panel. Okay guys, we're going to adjust the bevel on the table saw here, and we've already got it set down almost to 45 degrees, about as far as it'll go, and that indicator is just a little bit off. Most of them are on these saws. These saws don't cost a whole lot, so everything's not perfect, but that's about as far as it'll go. That's about 45 degrees, so you can't go all the way to 63 degrees, which is what we want. So it's like you're gonna be cutting the wood kind of upside down. So you're gonna think about starting from 0 degrees. So think about, what is 90 minus 63? That'll be 27. So you want to try to set this to 27, and you actually cut the wood kind of upside down from the angle you're wanting. We're going to try to get around 27. And let's see, since it's showing a little short when it's on 45, we're going to go a little far. So what we're going to do is we're going to go about 30 here. Just shy of 30 there. And lock it down here with my lever. Okay, so we're about 30. And I'm going to make sure that saw can go through the wood, and oh yeah, it goes through plenty far to go through the wood. We can actually come down on it a little bit. Just your preference. We just come down just a little, and we'll try that out. We got our rip fence set up here. We want to get it as close as possible on this little short piece of test wood we got, because we're going to cut off just a little bit at a time. What we'll do is we'll just cut that right there, and this is like cutting it upside down. When we go inside, we're going to flip this over and see if it meets our angle correctly like we want. Let me put the camera on the tripod and set it up. You'll probably hear in the background we've got neighbors' hound dogs howling in the background, but that's the way it is when you're out in the country. Got your safety glasses? And it's usually good to have a push stick with this. Let me go in and see if I've got one thin enough to do this. Now this is not a correct push stick, but I'm going to use it and just try to be careful. I think I'm going to come back just a little bit with my guide there. Come back maybe about another inch just to be a little safer. Got our cut made. Got a little bitty piece right there. It's just wherever I didn't push it through all the way. A little chip there. And it's gone. That's our angle. We're going to go inside and try it and see how it looks. Okay guys, here's our piece we cut. If you slide it all the way up now, we've got a little bit of a lip there, so it's not going to look like it meets perfectly down here when we run up there, but that's just where I haven't sanded. I could sand it down a little bit. But there's the edge of the cabinet. We come up to it with our cut, and as you can see, it actually looks pretty good like it is. You can see just a little airspace down there at the bottom. So we're going to increase the angle just by about maybe 2 degrees and try that, but it actually would work that way. But you see what I'm talking about? The back of it would be angled, and when you run your T-molding around the side here, you wouldn't be able to go this way because it won't fold and go down this way. So we're going to have to come back with a small saw and cut that off at 90 degrees later and stop flush at the side of the cabinet to make it look right. Now we could leave it like that and just run T-molding right here and stop and just cut it at an angle. And I may do that before it's over with, but I think cutting it at 90 degrees and going that way will be the winning bet. Okay guys, I know it's a little bit hard to see. We're at almost 30 degrees, and we want to go up, but we don't want to go up this way because remember, it's like we're going backwards, so we're actually going to take this down a couple of degrees. So let me loosen up on it so we can adjust it, and we're going to pull it. Let's see if you can see me do it. Oops, a little further than I wanted, I think. We'll try right about there. Lock it back down. And we're set pretty much. We might have to take and move the piece of wood around a little bit to get the next cut or something, but we'll set it back up in a tripod right now and cut this one and try it on the inside. Okay guys, what I did is I flipped the piece of wood around. The bevel that we just cut is on that side. We got the other side that's 90 degrees over here, and we're going to cut that because this is just a test piece. So we'll go out back if we have to, but I think we're going to be pretty close on this one. Might not have to adjust it anymore. There's our newest cut. There's a knot in that one there, but that way we can tell it apart from our last one. But there's the new bevel. We'll go inside and check it and see how it looks. Okay guys, there's the test piece. There's the first bevel we cut there. And we got a little closer with this one. See, can't see hardly any light poking through down there. Maybe just a little bit. That's just because the box itself is not completely flush there. The angle's almost perfect. I think I might be able to go just a hair more and get it even more perfect. So we'll try one more cut. We might move it just a degree or so. And I know you can't hardly tell right here, especially with this black laminate. It's very hard to see there. I mean, it's almost dead flush. It's looking really good. Since it's so tough for you guys to see my indicator there, see if I can get this right. There it is, and it's showing, right now it's showing that it's at about 27.5 or 28 degrees. And we're wanting to increase it a little bit, but like I say, since this only goes up to 45 degrees, it's like we're going down and cutting the wood upside down, basically, is what we're doing. So we're going to go down about another degree or so. I think we'll take it down to where this says about 26 degrees. And just let me adjust for a minute. I've only got two hands, so can't hold my light and do it at the same time. So we're going to loosen our little lock mechanism here. Slide this one down some. Oh, too far. And like I say, these things are off a little bit. It's not, you know, if you was to take and truly measure it, it probably wouldn't be 26 degrees. It'd be a little less or a little more. So we got it adjusted. We're going to lock it. Just show you what I did there. May look like to you it's on 25. It's actually a little bit past there. It's on about 26. So we're going to try it right there. Put our camera in our tripod. Give me a second. Okay, this piece of test wood's getting kind of small, and this is a little bit dangerous to be cutting small pieces like this, so just use common sense. And I know there's a lot of experts that would say don't be cutting a little piece like that without extra pieces of pusher wood and everything, but you know, hey, do what you got to do. There's our angle right there. Keep getting a little bitty piece right there. It's probably where I'm not getting to push the piece all the way through since this is so small. It'll be a lot easier with the large piece of plywood. And if you notice, I had one light go out on me. I do have lights right here by the saw, but just for filming purposes, the extra lights in the background, I had them on a timer, and I could see perfectly, but they went out, so it probably affected what you guys could see a little bit. Let's go inside and try this out. Okay guys, our little test piece is getting whittled down pretty small here, as you can see, and I don't recommend cutting pieces that small on the table saw unless you're crazy. But anyway, guess I'm a bit crazy. There's our new angle there, and it is just matching up dead perfect. So 26 degrees, that's exactly what we need to do. Cut the control panel top on that one side for the width, or well, I guess it's not actually the width, it's maybe you would say depth for the control panel top. But if we do that all the way down through there and make sure we cut it long enough to overhang about an inch here in the front, I think we're going to be looking great. Okay guys, we're going to attempt to cut this piece of plywood long ways. This is kind of a small table to be doing this, but we're going to do our best. And I got my wife on the other side helping me off camera. Very good. Thank you much. And sometimes you can't do things with just one person, guys. Sometimes you need a little help, and it helps to have a wife or somebody around. So this is going to be our control panel. That's our beveled edge there that we cut. And we still have to cut it to length, but we should be able to do that alone. Thank you, babe. Okay guys, here's the piece we cut for the top of the control panel. Now it's still a little large. This is going to be pretty close to the way it sits. And as you can see, it accepts that angle perfectly. I mean, that just looks great. Really turned out good. And if we set it so we've got about a 1/2 inch overlap on this side over here, we've still got much more than an inch in the front. I left about 2 inches in the front because what I wanted to do is recut this front edge here. This front edge is factory and it's pretty straight, but I wanted to give it another clean cut just to make sure it was, you know, good and square and had a nice cut to it before we put the notch in it for the T-molding. We'll have to use the router and a little slot cutting bit to do that. But right now we got to cut how wide the control panel is, so we're going to have to chop this off a little bit out there on the table saw, and then we'll probably come back at the very end after we do that and we'll just nip maybe 3/4 of an inch to an inch off of here, and that'll be it, and this will be ready. And kind of a happy accident, the piece that we cut off of here, you know, it has a bevel or an angle to it too. Well, it turns out from just looking and eyeballing, this is the exact same angle as this piece up here, which originally had a speaker in here and all this was visible. Well, this whole piece I believe is going to go away. It's got the red veneer on it. And I want to mount this piece up here. I'm going to have to cut it to width, about 2 foot. And I want to mount it back in here to take the place of this. And it has to have that bevel so that when it hits the front of the cabinet there, it'll accept the bottom part of the marquee and the bracket to hold the marquee in. But this goes back just far enough that it'll come back in here maybe a couple inches behind where the front of the monitor will be. And that's all it needs to come back. That's as far as it needs to come back. We may have to build a little bit of a box in here to help reflect light from the fluorescent lamp on the marquee and light it up. But this piece will go away and we'll have a brand new piece of plywood in here. And it'll either get some black paint on there or it'll get some more of the black veneer or laminate. Okay guys, got the top for the control panel fabricated pretty much. Got a little bit left to do, but looking pretty sweet. Hanging off a little bit too far in that front, which I cut it long on purpose. I went ahead and cut the angle back here to get that perfect, and I knew I could come back and just straighten up my blade on my table saw and just notch off however much I want or cut off however much I want. So we're going to take about maybe 3/4 to an inch off the front. We want to have maybe an inch overhang. There's probably almost 2 inches now, and once we do that, and you also notice this printing that's on here is on the top. That was kind of an accident, but I'm glad it happened that way because that's going to have a control panel overlay on it. Then when you open it up, there's a clean, nice side on the inside with no printing on it, so I won't have to do any sanding to that. But looking pretty good actually. just hanging off a little too much in the front, so we're going to cut just a little bit of that off, and everything should work out pretty good.
Roger, Columbia. You've got your normal cat bounce back now. Okay.